Hey guys, I am back to do a different video. Okay, that's normal for me, but this is like a very different video for me. And I'm totally blaming Shay Geeks Out for all this. So I'm actually going to do a book haul because, as you guys know, I'm kind of terrible about reading books. Like, I read manga, clearly, but I'm really bad with books. I used to be really, like, great with books because when I was younger, like in middle school and high school, I like read books all the time. And then I like got out of high school, went to college, and just like died involving books. And I just haven't read like in years. So watching all of Shay Geeks Out videos, I've just like had this newfound respect for books and reading in general. And I really want to get back into it. So one of my New Year's resolutions was to actually read more books this year. And so far I've actually read one. Now, it was a smaller book, but it was awesome. So I had to get the rest of the books in that series. So I do have a few books that I've gotten based on recommendations from Shay. So thanks so much, Shay. That's awesome. So I'm going to show like the two of those and then the rest of the books in the series that I finished. So the Wayward Children series was the first book that I read for this year, the first one. So after I read it, like I had to get more because it was so good. It's such an amazing storyline, and it's not like too big where it's kind of intimidating for someone who's like trying to get back into reading, which is why I liked it because I don't know, do they have pages? It's under 200 pages per book, so they're not very big books, and they have pretty big print, so they're not too intimidating if you're trying to get back into reading. This is like a really good series, and it's kind of like it's definitely a fantasy story, and it's basically like, you know how in the Narnia books, like the kids fell through the wardrobe and they had all these adventures. Well, basically it's saying that, you know, throughout like everything, there's always been like these doorways or these little portals or these little like something that you can find, and children just happen to find them and fall into them. And just like they live their lives in these fantasy worlds, like, you know, like Sugar Plum Land, or like, you know, like the you know, the depths of hell, or all these like random places that they just like fall into and they live their lives. And the time passes differently there, so where they feel like they've been there for like years and years and years, like having a whole life in these worlds, they somehow end up coming back to the real world, and they've only been gone, I mean, they've still been gone for like 6 months or something, which, you know, frantic parents, but to them it feels like a lifetime, and it hasn't really been a lifetime on this side. And then they'd have to try and acclimate themselves back into this like real world, and they don't know how to handle it. So there is Eleanor West's Home for Wayward Children, and this is the school where the kids are getting sent to try and figure out how to acclimate themselves back into the real world, essentially. I don't want to get too into it because I don't want to spoil it. Like the first book, I really enjoyed it. Like the whole concept of it is so interesting to me. It got a little dark, but that's not a spoiler because if you read the back of the book, you could tell it's going to get dark, which is hilarious because I didn't actually read the back of the book before I started. So that happened, and I was like, oh, that went off course from what I thought it was going to be. So basically, the first one kind of introduces you to everything and introduces you to a character and everything else, and then these the books that follow on are actually backstories for some of the characters that you were introduced to in that first book, which is really interesting. So the first one is Down Among the Sticks and Bones. So a standalone story suitable for adults and young adult readers, and the follow-on to the award-winning Every Heart a Doorway. So the books are just kind of black and plain with red lettering. Oh, there's a little spaceship. But yeah, so I haven't read any of these yet. So that is the second book in the series. The next book in the series is Beneath the Sugar Sky, which has got a really pretty cover. And this one is also black, and this got like the pink lettering. with a spaceship as well. And then the last book, which actually just came out like a few days ago, is In an Absent Dream. And that one is a really pretty cover too. Their covers are all really pretty. So I am very much looking forward to the rest of these. Oh, and this one's blue. Okay. Granted, I was telling Shay after I read the first one and then I read the backs of the backs of these, is that I'm like, I want them to do more because I want like backstories for this character and this character. And she's like, yeah, I heard people say that a lot, so. And then the other two books that I ended up getting were the recommendations from Shay. She was such a sweetie, and basically I told her I'm terrible about reading. And she said, well, tell me books that you've read before and I'll try to give you recommendations based on that. So I hadn't read a lot, but I do have the Home for Peculiar Children. I haven't read that one yet, but I do have that too to read this year. So I told her that and some other things, and that I had this series. And she recommended Ink and Bones, which I ended up ordering, which actually does sound really interesting. So it's ruthless and supremely powerful. The Great Library is now a presence in every major city, governing the flow of knowledge to the masses. Alchemy allows the library to deliver the contents of the greatest works of history instantly, but the personal ownership of the book is expressly forbidden. Jess Brightwell believes in the value of the library, but the majority of his knowledge comes from illegal books obtained by his family. Jess has been sent to be his family's spy, but his loyalties are tested in the final months of his training to enter the library services. When his friend inadvertently commits heresy by creating a device that could change the world, Jess discovers that those who control the Great Library believe knowledge is more valuable than any human life, and soon both heretics and books will burn. So that sounds really interesting, so I'm definitely looking forward to that one. And I think it's like a series? So I don't know if it's a trilogy or what, but I think there's more to this story. Oh, I think, okay. There's definitely 2, maybe 3 other books? I'm not sure, but gotta read that one first. And then this one she also recommended, which probably after reading those will be the first one that I read because it sounds so interesting. And this is called Asylum. And this says, for 16-year-old Dan Crawford, the New Hampshire college prep program is the chance of a lifetime, except that when Dan arrives, he finds that the usual summer housing has been closed, forcing students to stay in the crumbled Brookline dorm, formerly a psychiatric hospital. I love that. As Dan and his new friends, Abby and Jordan, start exploring Brookline's twisted halls and hidden basements, they uncover disturbing secrets about what really went on here. Secrets that link Dan and his friends to the asylum's dark past. Because it turns out Brookline was no ordinary psych ward, and there are some secrets that refuse to stay buried. Featuring haunting found paragraphs from real asylums, this mind-bending reading experience blurs the line between past and fantasy, friendship and obsession, genius and insanity. And it does have a sequel. So, I am like such a ghost nerd. I love paranormal. I love ghost stories. I love, like, I want to like go into a haunted asylum. I think it's so fascinating. So this is like so incredibly up my alley that it sounds amazing. So I'm definitely looking forward to reading that. Obviously, I want to read the rest of these books first, and they're not exactly that long, so that's good. But because I'm just so invested in the story right now, but this one's the next one I'm going to read, because this sounds amazing, and I have a feeling as soon as I finish reading it, I'm so going to pick up the sequel. Plus, it's really cool, because it has like random like writings in it and stuff like that, and pictures, which is cool. So yeah, so looking forward to that. So thanks so much for the recommendation, Shay. So yeah, that's about it. I figured this would be different for me because I never read books, and now I'm trying to. So yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this book haul for the new year. I will see you guys later for the very next video. Everyone have a very good rest of the day. Bye.